Right, this is Chris Martinez. We are here today to begin the story of Faith Presbyterian Church, talk to some of the founding members, how it originated, how they envisioned faith, and where we're at today. So we're going to introduce our panel of founding parents to Faith Presbyterian. So Hervey, you can start.
Hervey Jones, married to the one who really got it started.
I'm Gerrie Jones.
Pat Barrentine.
Tom Barrentine.
Sonya Burleson.
So if you would let us know, how did it first, the idea of having a Faith Presbyterian Church initiate? How did it start?
When we moved to Blue Ridge, we had no idea there was not a Presbyterian church, because in Richmond there was one on every corner. So we did find some comfort in the Methodist Church until we realized that it was not really what we wanted. There were 6 or 7 other couples in the same situation, and one of them said to me in December of 1999, "Gerrie, you need to find some way to get a Presbyterian church." I didn't hear God say that, so it took me until June to move on that. When I wrote a letter to the presbyter over in Athens, which I should not have known was our presbytery. And he in turn sent the letter to Greater Atlanta Presbytery. Eventually it came to Cherokee Presbytery, and they sent Jim Speed and Jim Shumack to visit with us in our house. Sonya and Jim Burleson, Hervey and I, and those 2 gentlemen sat down and talked about what it would take to get a church started here. First, we had to have an ad in the paper telling people that anyone interested should come to a meeting at the senior center. They did not know how to spell Presbyterian, but we got that straight. So we had 40 people come to the meeting, and then we were told we should have a dinner meeting. Everybody bring a dish, and we had about 40 people come to that. Out of that group, we found that there were perhaps 15 or 20 who were seriously interested, and others who would be ready to follow but did not want to participate in the starting of the church. Jim and Sonya were there to begin with. Jim and I had worked, I need to put this in, Jim and I had met when we were on the board of directors for the Fannin Christian Learning Center. And we worked well together, and we felt that the Holy Spirit was working in this county, and that's why we went to Presbytery. We thought this was the right time. So within a year, it was 2001, when we had everything together. We had chosen a name, we had chosen a treasurer, and gotten a bank account. Now, we were still in church development. They did not recognize us as a Presbyterian church. We were in church development. We were meeting at the Log Pavilion until Bruce King, Bruce and Ann King were in Cherry Log Christian Church, but they had experience with starting churches. They came because they were told to come by Dr. Craddock.
Oh, Dr.
He said they needed to do this. So they came, and if they had not come, I don't know what we would have done. They found a place for us at the Cherry Log Church to be services to be held in the afternoons on Sunday, with ministers from various churches in the presbytery coming to hold services for us. That went on for just a short time. That was from May until October.
Can I ask you a question? So how, when you were doing that, were there still just the initial 15, 20? Were Tom and Pat, were you in it at this juncture now? Were you part of this group?
We were part-timers. Everybody else lived up here full-time.
We still lived in Marietta at the time.
Okay.
And we joined the group shortly as far as interest and as far as wanting to be involved in the new church. from that first meeting that was held.
Okay, so you did go to
at
the first meeting.
Community center, the senior center.
Right. I forgot to tell you that when we were told to get a name and a treasurer and a bank account, we were told to set up a steering committee.
Oh.
And the steering committee had 10 members. It had the Barrentines, the Brewers, the Burlesons,
Robitors.
the Joneses, and the Kings.
And the Robitors.
And the Robitors were part-time people. They lived up here during the summer months and went back to Florida, and they came and sat in with us. We were the ones who had to make decisions about how things would go, where we'd meet, and so forth. And that's when Ann and Bruce more or less took over the leadership. After we had been at the Cherry Log Christian Church for a few months, Bruce found that the Seventh-day Adventist Church would allow us to come and use their facilities on Sundays. And in October, we had our first service. Is it not right? In October, we had our first real service in a church in the morning, on a Sunday morning.
And can you talk a little bit about how you came up with the name of the church?
Remember?
Bruce
Yeah.
mentioned that he said it rather emphatically, and everyone agreed. Faith.
He just felt called, and everyone just agreed. That's great. All right. How did you envision the church at that time? Were you thinking of a building? Were you just thinking of just meeting just as a congregation? Was there kind of a vision or a goal that you had when you were first meeting, or?
Let's back up just a little bit.
Okay.
The issue for us was that we were coming from the grassroots. We were not, the Presbyterian Church had a plan, and the plan was that a church would be on the drawing board, so to speak, for about 3 years, and would have a lot of financial help, a called pastor to organize the church. And when they came up with the idea of having a church, we didn't fit the bill. I mean, we were not on the drawing board, and we would have to wait at least 3 years. Plus, at that time, Tom, you tell about the new church development that was done with Atlanta Presbyterian.
We had new church development at Atlanta Presbyterian, Cherokee Presbyterian. I was on that committee. And we talked about lots of different things, but Cherokee Presbyterian's original plan was, well, everybody in Atlanta's moving out, so we're going to put churches in by counties. We're going to do this county, and then this county, and then this county. And they didn't like us skipping 2 counties.
So this was like down the road, but.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But Jim Speed, who has already been mentioned, became the chairperson of the new Church Development Commission. And that was our inroad.
So why did they finally decide to let you do that? To skip counties? Is it just because he?
We wouldn't go away.
Yeah. Okay.
Here were all these little white-haired folks who were saying, you know, we want a Presbyterian church and we don't want to wait 3 years. How can we do it?
Matter
And
of
we
fact,
kept asking for them to give us the steps. What steps do we need to take so we can do it?
Yeah.
So we can take those steps. And there were no answers because we were the odd bunch.
What were you going to say?
yes, they had a rule that you had to have 100 people, and at that time we didn't have anywhere like that. And so Jim Burleson said, well, you can hold us to that if you like, but by the time we get 50, by the time we get the next 50, the other first will be dead. So they relented and decided that if we're going to have a church, it would have to be in violation of the 100-member rule. So that enabled us to continue.
So it sounds like you were kind of the renegade group.
I was just about to say that. We were, or redheaded stepchildren or something. They just kind of wanted us to go away.
And you wouldn't go away.
I attended a meeting where there were some leaders of Presbyterian that did not think we were ready to have a church. And Jim Speed said because we didn't have 100 people, Jim Speed's folks said, these people are ready now, and I'm going to help them do what they need to do. And that was the end of the discussion.
He was a good friend. I truly believe that each step of the way, God put people in place for us so that when we got to where we needed them, they were there. And he was there for us from the beginning.